Welcome to season 10 of Accountants Are Sexy, Changed My Mind. In this season we have 10 brand spanking new guests to introduce you to. We'll be talking about things like exit plans, niching your business, you'll meet one of the captains. We're going to talk about finding your spiritual home, and we even have, of course, a discussion on AI and how it can improve your business. So stick with us, but before I introduce you to any guests, please meet our new sponsor, Swoop for Advisors.
For those of you who haven't heard of Swoop for Advisors, we partner with accountants and bookkeepers to help their SME clients get access to grants, loans, commercial mortgages, equity investment, R&D, savings, and much, much more. We're a one-stop shop funding platform for SMEs, helping them find all the best available options in the market across a wide range of products to support their growth at all stages of their life cycle. Our job is to make you look like the heroes in your clients' eyes.
So another massive thank you from me to Swoop for Advisors for sponsoring the show. Before I introduce you to the next guest, can I just ask for you to take a second and make sure that you are subscribed to any channel that you're watching this on, be that Spotify or Apple or iTunes or wherever you are. If you just take a moment to subscribe to the channel, it's really helpful information to us to understand how this podcast is received, and we can just continue to improve it the more we know. So thank you for taking the time, and I'm going to hand you over to the next guest. Oh, hello and welcome back to another episode of Accountants Are Sexy, Changed My Mind. Today I have a beautiful guest with me. We've got Tracy Irwin. Hello and welcome to the show, Tracy.
Kelly, thanks for having me. Great.
You're more than welcome. It's been a long time coming, actually, because we were speaking last year when you released your book.
Yeah.
Well done on that.
Thank you very much.
So yeah, it's nice to have you on so we can talk about it a bit more. But before we go into your book and what you've been doing, where have you been recently and what's kind of brought you up to this point? So who are you and what do you do?
So I started my accountancy business in my largest bedroom back in 2002. And I've grown the practice now. It's town centre premises. I've got numerous members of staff. And I got to a point in 2016, I kind of woke up and realised I wasn't happy. Like, I was happy with helping clients, but I wasn't happy in my day-to-day life. I was that person who, I came into the office first in the morning, I left last. There was a sad time when my granddad had cancer, and when he passed, I realised I just didn't want to go home. I'd been working so hard because actually I was unhappy at home. So over the 12 months of 2016, I got divorced. I processed my entire business and I moved to Spain. And once I'd moved to Spain, people kept asking me how I'd managed to do that. And so I thought, a book, brilliant idea. And I started writing it in 2017. Literally, but I got imposter syndrome. It sat, I wrote most of it in 2019, and it sat on my laptop as a Word document for 3 years, because every time I tried to edit it, I kept thinking, who would want to read this?
Yeah.
So I took the plunge in 2023 and I got myself an editor. She was worth every single penny.
Oh, I could imagine.
She managed to help me get it over the line, and it came out in June 2023, and it's been received so well, and I really wished I'd done it sooner, but we all suffer with stuff like that, don't we?
Yeah. So funnily enough, as off air, just before we started this, I said I don't do any editing for this podcast because if I did editing, it just simply wouldn't be published.
Exactly.
So I know how it feels. But so this book, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Where does that come from?
It came from the process of how I managed to be able to become to own the business rather than it owning me. So at
become
the time
the captain, some might say.
Sorry?
Has it become the captain, some might say?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely was not the captain back in 2016. I did everything. And, you know, I was in the office all the time. Every time a team member had a problem, you know, they would come to me. So I started doing like small things to help the process, including working from home. And then we set up the processes, and everything led to the point where actually I was actually contemplating like moving away. I mean, most people say, you know, I had a bit of a meltdown, but I feel like I had an epiphany.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's just perspective, Tracy.
I ended up in Spain like 12 months later, and the business is processed. I have an amazing team, and they all know what's expected of them. I dial in all the time, like I speak to them all the time. It's not like I'm absent, I'm just remote. And I really enjoy actually doing the sales and marketing side of the business. I feel like some accountants grow out of the day-to-day because they become the business owner. Yeah. Some don't, by the way. I speak to so many accountants who, like, we go to exhibitions and things and we get told what success looks like. But success isn't the same for everybody. No. And it's like, you know, we get shown this picture of all these people who've done all these massive things, and it sometimes makes them feel a little bit inadequate, but it isn't. Because I try and help people get their own success, whatever that looks like. It doesn't, you know, not everyone wants to up sticks and move to Spain. You know, not everyone actually wants to just do the sales and marketing either. You know, some accountants became accountants because they love what they do, and that's what they want to continue to do, like till the day they retire. So what I try to do is help them find their success, and they're happy.
Yeah, whatever freedom and whatever role they want to assume. And I think you're so right. There are, and funnily enough, I've done an email recently where it said people are telling you to, or when I started, you have to hit 10K months, 6-figure years, and blah, blah, blah. And they're telling you what these goals are. But what I came to realise is that if they didn't align with my personal goals, then they didn't mean anything and therefore meant nothing. And to have a goal that's meaningless, there's no motivation behind it. So you're not they don't try to achieve anything.
No, I've done a lot of goal setting courses over the last couple of months between like running into New Year. And one of the things I say is, you know, when you're setting your goals, you've got to set your own goals. The two reasons why people's goals don't happen is, one, they're just not passionate about them enough. It's somebody else's goal. It's something they feel like they aspire to, but actually it's not really what they want. And two, there's no plan behind it. They've just done a nice fancy vision board, put it on the side and let it go dusty. They've not actually implemented anything.
This is what happens with marketing plans all the time. It's lovely, fancy, on paper it works, but the implementation isn't there because it just doesn't, people just don't want to do the work because it's not aligned.
Yeah, 100%.
So the book is out and in the public. You say it's been received well. What's been your journey since it's been published? What's it been like since having your story out there?
It's been mad, to be honest. I didn't expect it. It's kind of taken me on a journey where I have become the time freedom alchemist. So literally it created a whole different persona for me afterwards, and I've really enjoyed it. It's been a bit like, there was a point, by the way, last year I had the book coming out in June and I was also doing my coaching and mentoring degree, and there was 1 week of this year where I went, I feel such a fraud. Like literally I'm teaching time freedom and I didn't have any at all. I was like, help, I just want to spend time, because my parents were over in Spain and I couldn't spend time with them during the day because I had so much to do. So I felt a little bit of a fraud then, but luckily it's quieting down now. We have a whole content plan for 2024. It's all in the sauna, it's all getting done bit by bit at my pace, the pace, so that I actually still have the time that I wanted to actually.
And I don't think that we have to be perfect, right? Please.
No.
Like you can't have all of your ducks in a row at every stage of your life forever. So you have to go with the ebbs and flows. So when things happen, parents come over, you're doing the degree, you've got your book launch at the same time. That's okay, but it's not sustainable forever. And I think that's the thing.
It definitely wouldn't have been. No, it just felt a bit of a,
overwhelming at the time.
I'm just about to bring out a book about time freedom, and I just didn't have any. It's a short period, but I do. It's back. It's just about preparation and priorities. And at that time, obviously, the book was out of my control a little bit because it wasn't with me. But yeah, and it's been really good, and I've now doing some courses, so we'll be doing masterclasses, workshops, all on different subjects. I think with my accountancy background, then it helps because I kind of understand the numbers and I can kind of help people to have that underpinning, like it's like a foundation of knowing the numbers and stuff. It just underpins absolutely everything. So that's really helped. We're doing online courses, and obviously I'm doing one-to-one coaching too. So I feel like I'm quite distanced away from being the accountant I was 20 years ago, but I've enjoyed the journey.
So you still have the practice?
Yeah, still own the practice. I don't do any of the day-to-day. I have an amazing team that do that. But I'll look after it from a strategic point of view, or we oversee anything, and I make all the marketing stuff happen within the business.
So would you classify the mentoring that you do with your business owners as advisory services, or is advisory an icky word that we don't like to use?
No, it is. And I think if I just stuck to the number side, I mean, I've been doing advisory services for a decade in the accountancy, and I still have a handful of what I call FD clients. So that's kind of the terminology that I use. Instead, I don't use business advisory, I use financial director services. And I've been doing them for a decade, and I've watched so many businesses grow whilst we've been doing that. And that was all about numbers. So this is adding a little bit extra. The numbers start it, but then we talk about the team, whether their goals are aligned, because quite often that's the big difficulty, is when your goals aren't aligned with your team's goals, or they're not quite, your communication isn't particularly very good, and the fact that you haven't even communicated what you want to your team. So it's looking at a much wider area than just the numbers. We talk about values, vision statements, all that kind of stuff, and then once you've done the planning, then we go on to looking at the target market and how we, just nailing down who their target market is so that they know who to sell
well,
to.
that's something that I could talk about all day long.
I can imagine.
But there is so much resistance. And I think accountants will be pleased to know that the resistance isn't just for accountants. Like, there is so much resistance for all business owners to identify their target market because it feels so restrictive. It feels like you're cutting off half of the world when actually you're just serving a particular segment better.
When I did
That's
mine,
the theory.
Yeah, and it is. When I wrote mine, I had a different target market for each of the products. So I have one for self-assessments, I have one for bookkeeping, I have one for payroll only. And it really helped me because actually when I started to write and think, what am I going to write in my emails, in my blog posts, in my social media posts, I just wrote to that one person. I didn't have to think about how am I going to
help everyone in this one sentence.
I literally just wrote it to them I gave them names, I give them dogs, cars, families. I literally have. And you know what? I know I did this well over a decade ago, but I wished that AI was around when I originally did them, because for Time Freedom Alchemist, the job that took me probably an afternoon to do in my previous in the accountancy took me an hour with the help of AI. Just gave them all the details, and I asked him, what does he do for a living? He called it Alex, because I think that's like a their name, isn't it? And they called him Alex, and I asked him what they did for a living. I asked him what car he drove. Like, literally took the thought process away from me and just kept asking AI all these little questions. And eventually I had my target market. Brilliant.
Oh, that's interesting. And do you think that you would still feel as connected to that persona, like going through AI, as you would to make it up from your mind? Because it's not actually something I've explored very much. I try and get the person to discover this.
Yeah, so I gave him the information. I always call, I don't know why I think that Chat GPT is a man, by the way, but I do. I gave him the details myself, so I made that up already. I kind of said what kind of person he was. All I got was like the little details that helped me to make it up. So yeah, I do feel attached to Alex. And I did tweak some stuff. Like once it had done it, I never.
Yeah, you're like, that
totally,
bit doesn't feel right. Yeah.
AI is a tool. It's not my be all and end all. So I tweaked it a little bit and just so that it fit me perfectly. But it just was a good help rather than having to think of the stuff myself.
I think that ideal client work and persona work often gets thrown in too soon. And I say that from like they try and I'm categorizing all marketeers as a they. So think about whomever you choose, but they ask you to write this ideal persona, get very detailed about the car, the dogs, the magazines, the house, all of that. And a lot of people, and whether a lot of resistance comes from is why. And that I find that it's because it's been introduced too soon. You're never ever going to understand the ideal client when you've got such a broad range of people to look at in the first place. Now, I found what you said really interesting, that you've already segmented your audience. So you have your sole traders, you have your payroll only, or your self-assessments, your payroll only. So it comes from different products, and that's how you've categorized and segmented. Then within that segment, there is an ideal client for each of them, and that's how you manage to kind of drill down.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what I did originally in the actual accountancy is, because I'd already grown the business and I already had staff, so it must have been quite big at the time. I literally thought of my favourite client. So I literally did think, I didn't call them the same or give them the same family, but what I did to start off the process, I had like, if I had a web designer, for instance, that we worked really, really well together, then my target market was the web designer, and I just went from there and I gave him the same characteristics that my web designer had and started. And I think that's the best way to start your target market off, is find your actual who you really like working with already, because obviously they are your perfect target market.
It's unbelievable how simple it can be when you really think about it. So the way that I like to approach this is I like to cherry pick. So we get like 5 of our favorite clients, and then we make up one person with different attributes of them. So you just cherry pick all the best bits. And this ideal person, completely fictional, like they're not going to be the only person. They don't have to fit all of the criteria in order to work with you. And this is the other resistance, isn't it? Like, how am I going to find this 43-year-old woman who is like super confident and has a dog called Yo-Yo, and like, where is this woman going to be? But actually, you don't have to. You're going to attract so many more people just by having a clear image of who you're talking to.
Because your writing is much more specific.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah. And you get to understand their problems and address their problems, not the world's problems. Yeah. I think I'm freezing on you at the moment. I think the internet's gone slow. So tell me a bit more then, because you have done your coaching. So you've done your coaching degree. How has that turned out for you? How has that changed the way you've approached business?
Okay, so the reason I did the degree was when I set my goals for 2023, I wanted to become a better mentor for my team and my clients. Not actually quite sure how it grew into having a coaching level 5 coaching degree. It never started off that way, but I really, really enjoyed it. And I feel like it's changed the way that I deal with my clients with my FD clients, because I realised I had an advice monster inside me, and I realised I was a consultant and not a mentor, and there's a massive difference. And that learning curve has helped me to know I will be a better mentor than somebody who's, because it's kind of like when you go to get a coach or a mentor, there's, you look for different characteristics, and I wanted to have both. I wanted to have the knowledge and that comes with it, the technical knowledge, because I already had the 20 years experience. And I think putting those two together will make me a much better mentor, well, I know they do, than it was before when I was just doing it with my experience. Because what would happen is somebody come to me with a problem and I'd go, oh, I've been there, done that. Yeah. Here's my solution. And like literally, you have an advice monster inside you because of the experience. And taking on the technical knowledge of doing the coaching degree helped me to keep my advice monster until somebody asks for it. It's a bit different. Sometimes they do. But until they've asked for it, I work through what they want by asking questions and things instead. And that's the biggest learning thing I've had from doing the coaching degree. And my second is reflection. Like, I thought I reflected before I did my coaching degree. I don't think I even knew what it really meant.
Reflection is really hard.
Isn't it?
And it's really hard, like, especially if you're learning. And I learning how to reflect sounds like really daft, doesn't it? But learning to reflect on your own is super hard. I find that being guided through that process at first, much easier, because it helps get your synapses working. It helps you get to memories or unlock memories that wouldn't have been unlocked on your own. Otherwise, like journaling, that's a great way to do it as well. But it's not an easy skill.
No, it's not. I've journaled on and off all my life. And sometimes it felt like a chore. And as soon as it came a chore, I would put it down. But actually, I've worked out a way in which it just becomes part of my natural routine now. And it's been a couple of years since I felt like it's a chore. So I think holding myself accountable by doing a post every Sunday on LinkedIn about what my wins and what I'm grateful for has helped, because I need the content to be able to do that.
Yeah. So that's a great way of doing it. Well, I've built a journal, which is for sale, but I don't tell anyone about it. But I've built a journal that some of my captains are using, and every day there is a morning, lunchtime and evening gratitude block, just to try and capture the things that are happening through that day. And it's a way of journaling your thoughts, and also repositioning things that have happened. Sometimes if you have experienced something not so nice, you can capture the lessons from it instead and be grateful for the lessons. So it's just about changing your perception. But most importantly, it's about recognizing what's happening in the day and not just blindly going through the day, getting to the end of it and then forgetting everything and forgetting all of the important stuff that comes with it.
Yeah. I think as well, we can have something that happens during the day that actually is a bad thing. And if we don't journal the good things, then that day suddenly just becomes a whole bad day. When actually, if you've journaled the good, and it does the same with the week as well. You think, gosh, I've had a bad week this week. But actually, if you've journaled those tiny things all the way through, just put one-liners in. I've got a journal that's called A Line a Day, and it's got the last 3 years in it. So I just write one line to say how I feel that day, or what one good thing that happened that day. And it's so much easier.
Yeah. Isn't that lovely to look back on and see your journey? Like, that would be really good. So I when I was younger, I went through a few spots of traumatic time. I'm not going to say traumatic. I'm going to start when I was like 13 and a half, like Adrian Mole style. And my boyfriend was like cheating on me and I was like devastated. You know, trauma.
Yeah.
But I had a diary back then, and there it was a Purple Ronnie. I don't know if you remember Purple Ronnie. It's like a
Yes,
cartoon.
I do, yeah.
So it's a Purple Ronnie diary, and I was like journaling all about this boyfriend that was cheating on me. And then I went through this time when I was older and something else like traumatic happened, and I realised that it was my go-to kind of exercise for when things were happening that I needed to offload and I didn't have anywhere to offload them. One of the most cathartic things I've ever done is got rid of them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
See, I draw.
Yeah. So I got to this stage where they're sitting in a box and I'm like, all of my bad memories, all of the trauma that I've experienced in my life sitting in this box. What if I just got rid of it?
Yeah, that's really, really cathartic. I like that. Yeah, no, my go-to is art. So I'm really creative, and I love doing anything that's creative when I'm not working. And sometimes if I've had a bad day and I need to put something to paper, rather than write it out, I'll draw it out.
Nice.
Like some of my drawings, I was like, what have you been through today? It's just like, and it's, and it just makes me relax. It just relaxes me and makes me realise, and then it's gone onto a piece of paper, but there's no bad words on there, so it can help.
So is that one of yours in the background? Obviously people that are listening won't be able to see, but if they're on YouTube, is that your penguin in the background?
It is, yeah.
Very good. Very good. I'm not an artist.
I painted that one, and my granddaughter, who's 3, said, "Oh, Grandma, did you paint that for me?"
Oh.
And I was like, no, I painted that for myself. So I did what all good grandmas do, and I painted her own small version. So she has a picture on her wall at home that's exactly the same as mine. And when we're talking on the phone and she says, "Look, still there, Grandma," and she said, "Can I see yours, please?" And I have to go and show her that my penguin is still on the wall too.
Oh, that is beautiful. What a lovely little connection. Like, that's going to be cherished forever.
Yes, hopefully.
Oh, bless her. Bless. So, your book is out. I can't remember whether you said this on air or off air, but it's February. This podcast is out in February. So there is something special happening with that at the moment?
Oh, yes. We have a February sale for the Kindle version. So the Kindle version is only $1.99 for the entire of February. So if anyone is listening to this in February 2024, the Kindle version is only $1.99. It's also available in paperback and on Audible. Audible was so much fun to read, to like actually go back through my book, but it was one of the hardest things I've ever done, was actually say the book out loud. It took me 3 days to see the Audible version.
That's really brave.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a good experience. It's something that, as an accountant, I don't think I would have ever thought I would have got the chance to stand in a proper recording studio for 3 days and to record my own book. It's just something that I never ever thought that would be an experience in my life, and it was good.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? And I think we underestimate our role sometimes. So because you were an accountant, there was almost a box around you, but actually you are so much more, and everybody can be so much more. It doesn't mean that you have to change your role. It just means that you can offer more value to the world.
Definitely.
You don't have to change to be able to do that.
I'm still an accountant. I'll always, always be an accountant. I still love spreadsheets. I just like helping people. That's it.
So you mentioned as well, you've got your programs at the moment. You've got an online and a one-to-one. Do you want to just quickly explain what the online and the one, or the difference between the online and the one-to-one is?
It's the same program. However, the online version, you can actually go on and you can do it in your own time. So you get a workbook to work through, and it comes available once you finish the next one. So it's structured, because I didn't want people to be just dipping in and out, because there really is a knack to getting it right in the way. But you, as soon as you finish one section, you can just move on to the next, so that they can do it in as long or as short as they want to. It's exactly the same program as I use with my one-to-one clients, but it's got me in video rather than me in person.
Okay. And what is the expectation for them once they've gone through the program? What kind of results would they be seeing?
They will, by the end of it, they will have the choice to do what they want with their day. So it's about starting off. It's usually people who come on and do the one-to-one with me is because the online, by the way, is brand new, so it's only just coming out. So we haven't actually we haven't launched it yet. So by the time this goes out, hopefully it's all right. Don't worry, it'll have been launched. That's definitely going to hold myself accountable now, isn't it? No pressure on me. So the people who come up work with me are usually really busy business owners. They've usually got a one or two members of staff, but they feel like they do everything in the business, and they don't want to do everything in the business. They want the business to run for them. So it's about it's just a really nice way of being in control of your business rather than it controlling you. And usually by the end of the program, they're able to either most of the time, some of the people sell their business. Other people just, continue to run it. And like I said before, some people still want to do the day-to-day. There is nothing wrong with that whatsoever, and it's just about having the choice of whether you do it or not. That's the difference.
Yeah. And I think the what you were saying about having the online version, like, I think things like that are very important, because people have to go at their own pace.
Yes.
And when you're teaching people to take control of their day, then something very rigid might not work.
When I first was wanting to do this, people said, how good would it be to come for a retreat to Spain? And I'm like, yeah, that would be fab. Let's get like 20 people on a retreat, spend 2 days me teaching time freedom and what you need to do. But then I actually spoke to my target market. So I asked on LinkedIn if there was anybody who could spare me 30 minutes of their time, who was a busy person working over 40 hours, and it's still working in the day-to-day of their business. And every time I spoke to somebody, they all said, it sounds wonderful, Tracy. I'd come over to Spain, I'd have 2 lovely days, I'd get to learn a lot, and then I'd walk back into my office the day after and be in exactly the same position that I'm in now. And that was the point I realised that actually people need a system, a programme that they can work to at their own pace. Some people will have a little bit more time than others, but others will be able to work on it for an hour a week, an hour a month. It really does. And I think that's the best bit of putting it online, is they can actually start when they want to, and they can push through some stuff, or some things might be a bit more, take a bit more time. And I feel like I've got it right now.
And it helps them to start implementing straight away.
Yes, we talk about numbers first, though.
It's the practice. It's the practice. All right, so we're coming to the end of the show, and I don't know if you know this question or not, but I always end on the same one. So if it's surprising you, what is the sexiest thing about accountants?
Sexiest thing about accountants is, I feel, it's that they give you the stability in your business to actually work on all the other stuff instead of just your numbers.
Yeah, that's very good. That is very good. Thank you so much. So I appreciate you coming on and talking about this. I will drop links in here so you can go and find that $1.99 Kindle version or any of the other versions, or hear your dulcet tones on Audible. And I'm assuming that LinkedIn is a really good place for you to connect with other people.
It is, yes.
Fantastic. Then we'll drop the link into that as well, so you can go, or the listeners can go and check Tracy out. So make sure you do that. But for now, I just want to say thank you very much for joining me.
No, I want to say thank you to you. I've enjoyed myself. Thank you.
And just a final word for me before I let you go. I wanted to say thank you so much for listening to Accountants Are Sexy. When I say your thoughts are the only thing that matters, I truly mean it, because this show is nothing without listeners, right? So please like, subscribe, comment, slide into my DMs. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you want more of, and I will try and deliver. Apart from that, I hope you enjoyed today, and I'll see you next week.